So issue 13 of Warhammer Stormbringer. This is a paint issue. So 2 new paints and lots of painting. So this is the magazine. The 2 paints that we get in this issue are Mephiston Red. Now I like this colour. When I used to paint figures before, I used to mainly collect Khorne, which is a kind of it's chaos, but it's a little sub branch of chaos. Now I used to do my humans. Anything human used to be done obviously in flesh with red armour. Sorry, with Khorne red. But the demons, obviously, I couldn't paint them in Khorne red. So I used to do their skin in red, and it's a really nice colour. The other one is Wrathbone. Now, one thing I've noticed about this, as you can see, it separates very quickly, much like the white. Just give it a quick shake. I've actually shaken this quite a few times. When I got the magazine, I opened it. Because I thought this was defective. So I got it, and give it a really good shake, and it was absolutely fine. I haven't actually unsealed it yet, but I shook it and it was absolutely fine. And then about the next day, it was back to how it was. So this is a base colour, so that's heavily pigmented. So this is the magazine. We've got this little pull-out bit. I guess it was just a bit too much to put it in the magazine. This is a section on order. And we have got Monsters of the Sea, stories, that's a new section. So I used to quite like some of the stories. So we've got more about the realm, and then we've got paint guide number 10. Number 10, yeah, that sounds about right. So we're going to need Mephiston Red Wrathbone, which are the 2 new colours. We're also going to need Catachan Flesh, and we're going to need Lead Belcher, and that's what we're doing with the orcs. And then once we've done those, we'll move. That's what we're going to be painting today, all of these. So you can see, I think I did have a question in an earlier video. Will there be more added? Yes, there will. At the moment, this is my entire paint collection. And then we add this to it, and then obviously at some point I hope we're going to get layer paints. You do end up with a lot of paints. Citadel use like a three colour method, so you well, 4 if you include the shade. 4, 3, I can't remember. You have a base coat, so in this case it's Mephiston Red. Then you'll put a shade on the top which will darken the recesses. You then go back over with the base. You then do a layer paint, which will be a sort of somewhere between orange and red. And then you'll do an edge. So you just paint the very edges. So if I was painting this, I would be painting just along. See where it's just a little bit of shine there. And it just represents the different colours. So hopefully we'll be getting all of those. And then once we've painted all of these, we'll be moving on to the Stormcast Eternals, and we'll be painting all of those, not as many. So another little playthrough to do, if you're that way inclined. And then we have, I believe we'll normally, oh there we go, so conditions for winning. This I think is just Gumph. Obviously they're advertising Warhammer as well. They want you to spend money in the shops as well. No wound chart, no wound counters. And then in the next issue we're going to be getting Manskewer Bolt Boys, and that's roughly what they're going to look like. And if we get the time, we'll be doing the Stormcast Praetors. Haven't we got some of these already? Stormcast Praetors? I will double check. Right, let's get on with some painting. Okay, so what you're seeing me do here is open up the new pot of Mephiston Red. I was originally just going to pop a little bit onto a pallet and thin it there, but I did notice that the pot was roughly half full, so I thought let's just go for it, and I just thinned it down in the pot. Then I get an old piece of sprue, and I just paint on the sprue. I'm just testing to see whether it's thick enough or thin enough, and I don't want any detail obscured. I believe on the first attempt it was a little bit too thick, so I just thinned it down a little bit more. And then once I was happy with that, I just began painting. So, reading the instructions for the magazine for the Mephiston Red, it goes as follows. Remove the shields from models. Gently wiggle the scarce shields free from any models where it's possible to do so. This will make it easier to paint. I did have a real struggle removing some of the shields, so I didn't bother with the ones that I couldn't. So, paint the front and back of each scarce shield. Use your brush to work the paint into the crevices and textured surface of the shield. For any models where you can't detach the shield, take care when painting their armor plates. Use the tip of the brush to work paint into the hard-to-reach areas, such as behind the shield. Don't forget the stab grot. Use carefully thinned paint to preserve the finer details on his tiny scare shield. Use your starter brush to paint the armoured belt worn by the Uruk wielding the beast skewer killbow. Hold the brush steady and use the tip of your brush to pick out the Swamp Kala shaman's armoured belt. Take care when painting this tiny bottle on the Swamp Kala shaman's staff not to get any paint on the staff itself. And the last thing you need to paint red on your Kruleboyz for now is this potion bottle on the pot grot's back. Now, one thing that I noticed when I came to do the pot grot, I'd actually painted the wrong potion blue. So what I've done is I painted the other one red. So if you do buy the magazine, you will notice I've got them the wrong way round. I really don't think it's going to make a major difference. One's blue, one's red. So, on to the Rathbone, and same as before, opened the pot up, decided that I could add the thinner to the pot, so I did that, testing it on an old piece of sprue, make sure I'm not going to lose any detail, absolutely happy with that. So, the instructions state, where you can, paint the straps on the inner side of each shield with thinned Rathbone paint. Don't worry if you get paint on the Gut Ripper's fingers while painting between them. You'll have a chance to fix this later. This is the thing with anything. If you do go over, don't worry too much. You can always fix it with the other colour. So next we need to paint the cloth wraps of the Gut Rippers, the Killer Boss and the Stab Grot where about their legs with Rathbone. Use thinned paint to paint the reed straps worn as belts and harnesses by each Kruleboyz model. Take care when painting the ropes worn by each Hobgrot and Rathbone to not get any on the skin. Now it says take your time painting the stitches. Take regular breaks to rest your eyes and hands so you do not strain them. I didn't do the stitches. The reason I didn't do the stitches was I have a feeling we're going to be painting that cloth later on, so we're going to end up covering up the straps anyway, stitches. So take care when painting the bowstrings on the beast skewer killbow. Don't apply too much pressure as this may break them. You will notice I've already got one that's broken. I will fix that later on. And then lastly, some of the shields wielded by your models are sculpted with fangs. Paint these with Rathbone. Okay, and what you're seeing here now is I'm going over all of it all over again. The paint was too thin to do one coat. You don't want to be doing one coat anyway. Um, but yeah, just apply a second coat just to give a slightly more solid colour. Okay, so I've run into a bit of a problem. I'm actually going to call it a day with those. That's actually terrible. So I've painted most of these. Now, guys, I'm trying to do this as best I can, um, but I'm finding I've just not got the time to do it. I do want to continue this series, and I will continue this series. So I'm going to change the format quite a bit. I'm actually going to lose the painting. It's just this is one of those things where you really need to sit down and take your time doing it. I've got to the point now where I'm like you can see I'm trying to rush this, and it's just the results aren't fantastic. So I am going to continue with the series. Let me change to my webcam. So I will be continuing with the series, but what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be building the models, and I'm going to be using a process called zenithal highlighting. Now, what zenithal highlighting is where you prime the whole model black, then you come in at an angle with a grey, and then you come in from the top with a white. I may change that slightly. I might do some warm zenithal highlighting at some point, but I'll stick to a basic zenithal. I will go in more detail in the next video, or the next build video. But what this will do is it will really bring out the highlights. So although I won't have a painted model, I will be able to show you the models really well. Now, one of the other things that I did say was I was only going to use the basic equipment from the actual magazines. Obviously, in order to do a zenithal highlight, I'm going to have to use an airbrush. You can do a zenithal highlight using a brush. It's a little bit more tricky, but I'm going to have to do it this way, guys. Otherwise, I'm just going to have gaps in the series. It's a real struggle with even when I'm away. I'm tending to, as you can see from the background, I'm in my hotel room. This is where I do my Warhammer building, and trying to get a couple of hours in every day, it is really difficult. So I'm calling it a day on this particular build. I can't even remember what issue we're up to. This is how bad it's become. But we will have a look at the next issue, and then I will catch you next week. So this is what the magazine or what the models would look like once they're painted. And then you've got all of these as well. And then you've got the Stormcast, which I've not done. But in the next issue, what are we doing next issue? We are doing, it's going to be a double issue next week. We have the Man Skewer Bolt Boys. I believe there's 3 of those. And then we've got 3 Stormcast Eternal, but Stormcast Praetors. I think I said before, have we done those before? I can't remember. Right, guys, so that's going to be the next issue, so I will catch you next week. Take care, guys.